Hi everyone, it's Alice from the Crafters Club, and here today I'm showing you the tools I use most commonly to make things like this. So let's jump right into it. First up we have wire cutters, which are essential for tack making really. You need them to cut off buckles you've made off the coil of wire. Here I kind of just have two sets that kind of do the same thing. So this one's just a bit chunkier, this came out of Dad's garage, and these ones are a little bit finer but they definitely go blunt a bit faster. You can see they're already going a bit blunt. But yeah, essential for making buckles, stirrups, bits, any key parts of tack. Very important. We have my pliers, which I use for an awful lot of things. For wire, for buckles, for getting in small spaces. I use them for all sorts of things. So here I've got some needle nose ones and some rounded ones. And yeah, these are like an essential for any tack maker to have, really. Glue can be a rather controversial topic in the hobby, so I'm going to show you guys what I use. I use this 60-second all-purpose glue. I think we got it from Bunnings Warehouse or Mitre 10. It's great because it dries quick and it dries strong. There's no mucking around with this glue. You will stick your fingers together, but it's great because once something is on there it is stuck forever. And it dries real quick in 60 seconds like it says. Yeah, no, really good glue, and it's got a very thin nozzle that's great for getting in small spaces and using small amounts of glue. So yeah, this is the glue I use for most of my serious hardcore tack. Yeah. Lighter duty projects, I use this craft and hobby glue from Sullivan's. It's very hard to read the label because it's been so well loved, but this is what I use for pretty much anything that's not hardcore tack and just needs a little bit of glue. I'll use this one. Yeah, it's great for blankets, halters, anything just a little less heavy duty than leather. Yeah, the only downside with this is that it does dry up really quick. See, this is actually dried up, so I have to get a new one, but yeah, no, altogether it's a good glue. An absolute essential when you're making tack is knives. These are essential for cutting leather and cutting finer shapes as well as skiving. So here I've got an XL knife, which is a little bit more expensive, but this one's just got a very fine tip, so it can cut really clean lines. This one over here, it does exactly the same thing, it's just a little bit cheaper. So yeah, it doesn't really matter what brand you get. These knives both have refillable blades, so when they get blunt you can refill the blade instead of having to buy a whole new knife. Yeah. Next up, in knives we have the box cutter knife, which is just like a smaller version of bigger box cutters you can get. This has got an extendable blade, and it's great for skiving because the blade is a lot longer and it's a little bit more flexible, so it's much easier to skive with, I've discovered more recently. And it's also got a extendable blade that snaps off once the end is dull, so you've got a fresh new blade and you've got several of these all the way down the knife. Yeah, super useful for skiving and it's a great tool to have. Lately I've been enjoying adding stitch marks to my tack, as it really just adds that extra touch of realism, and to do so I've been using these nail files actually. They have a very pointy tip that pokes straight into the leather and makes a nice hole. This nail art pencil is for slightly bigger holes, but I mostly used these ones for my traditional Brea bridle, so you'd probably need to find something a little bit smaller for Schleich. But yeah, I just want to show you guys what I used because it was quite a revelation for me. Yeah, so I use these nail files. Since the work we do is so small, it's very important to have some tweezers. Now these are great for little things like doing up tongue buckles or placing delicate things onto glue. They're great for just all sorts in the hobby. So it's great. I've got some bent nose ones, but you can also have straight ones, and yeah, now they're just very useful to have in your toolkit. More recently I've acquired this mechanical pencil. This is just a mechanical pencil from the warehouse that I use to punch holes in leather, very small holes, so you can see with this tip here. I've had to tape down the end because otherwise the tip would press in, but otherwise it's great for punching very small holes in billets and girths and on bridles, so to make your bridles adjustable. So yeah, super helpful. Another key item in my collection is my sewing machine. I use this for rugs and saddle pads and other projects that require sewing. I have this Singer Start that my grandma bought me. It's worked really well for me so far. It is not the latest and greatest machine. It is a little bit clunky, but it does the job for me. For harder projects I would use my grandma's sewing machine. I think it's a Benina, which is much nicer, but this works for me. On to the topic of customizing now. A key part of my customizing is these silicone tools, and I've wanted these for ages and I finally got them, and they are great. They are they're like paintbrushes, but they've got a plastic nib, so it's great for working with epoxy or other clays, and it gives a really smooth finish and is great for detailing. I've got a whole bunch of different heads here, so we've got some pointy ones, some sharper ones, some rounded ones, and some of these even have a little dotter on the end. So yeah, these are great for customizing. It's my hand saw. I use this to chop ponies' heads off, and legs and tails and necks and all those wonderful things. This is just a small hand saw that you've got to use a bit of elbow grease with, but it does the job. It does it quickly and neatly for the most part. So yeah, that's what I use for my heavy duty customizing. And for the more delicate cuts I use this Dremel. I'm very lucky to have one. My grandparents got this for me, and I use this for sanding down the rough edges and making smaller incisions into my horses. Yeah, it is cord, so it plugs into the wall, and you can get lots of different attachments. I've mostly got sanding attachments, a few buffing attachments, but I haven't actually used them yet. But yeah, it's a great tool to have. It is a luxury and I'm very lucky to have it. As glue is a controversial subject in tack making, we all know varnish is a controversial subject in customizing. So I thought I'd share what I use. I've most recently used this Rust-Oleum chalked. It seems to work well for me. I kind of go with whatever's in stock at the moment, and this is actually what's in stock at the moment. It is more specifically for chalks and pastels, so that's great for my pastel work. It does dry clear and it doesn't yellow, so it seems to work really well for me so far. Recently, as I've been getting more into my customizing, this epoxy sculpt has been crucial to my evolution as a customizer. It's got such a smooth finish, and it's so strong it will not break once it is set. This comes in 2 parts, which yeah, that really adds to the extra strength. It is a bit pricey, but I will definitely tell you it is worth it. It gives such a nice finish, and yeah, it's so strong. All the professionals use it, and I highly recommend. And lastly, for those of you who are wondering what I take my photos with, for some of them I use my camera. So I use this Canon PowerShot SX280HS. Oh gosh, what a mouthful. This was another gift from my grandparents. So it's quite old, and it certainly doesn't, it's not the height of photography, but it works for me, and I mostly use it on manual settings so I can adjust all the settings myself. And for other quicker photos I use my phone, which is just an iPhone 7. Thanks everyone for watching. I hope you found this useful. Please don't feel under pressure to get all of the things I just showed you. These are just what I use. You can feel free to use whatever you want. It's all. I hope you've enjoyed what the hobby's about. Finding model horsey content, check out craftersstuffnz.com. Bye guys.